During a recent archaeological dig, looking for dinosaurs, one of the scientists said, I know where there's a living dinosaur. A few days after that, there was a knock at the door, and for the next several weeks, these historians dug through the rubble in my home. They found amazing artifacts, previously unseen pictures of my first attempts at public performance, like this picture of a music group I formed called the Extra Measure. We traveled the country, bringing that same stove with us wherever we sang. Then they began to dig up unseen video footage of my first performances. I lost my voice early in my career, and about the same time I lost my mind. I think that's when I started doing magic shows. I developed a high school assembly show entitled Nothing But the Best, and used it to inspire over 1 million students to settle for nothing but the best. Holding the attention of hundreds of squirming high school students may be one of the most difficult challenges I've ever faced. I loved acting like a complete Tyrannosaurus geek at the beginning of each show, and then capturing their attention with this illusion. Then I could talk to them about the message I had brought to their school. Live for nothing but the best.
Thank you. 2 weeks ago, I was in Los Angeles taping a television show, and while I was there, I had the privilege of going to a place I've always wanted to go called the Magic Castle. The Magic Castle is a place where only the finest magicians in the world are allowed to perform. And while I was there, I saw some of the best. I was reminded that magic has very little to do with the fact that the hand is quicker than the eye. But what really makes magic work is a simple principle. You can only concentrate on one thing at a time. So if I can get you to look in the wrong place at the right time, or the wrong place at the right time, strange things can happen.
I graduated from high school in 1964. That was shortly after Noah landed his ark on Mount Ararat, on a big mountain. After finishing college, I took a position as director of Youth for Christ in Virginia, Minnesota, until 1975, when I set out on my own and started doing shows like you just watched. From the beginning, I used humor, and I used illusion. I used anything that I could that would open the hearts of people to listen so I could tell them about the life-changing message of God's love. Then one night, we went to a comedy club. At the end of the evening, my wife said to me, "Hey, you can do that." So the very next time that club had an open mic for amateur comedians, I signed up to experience my own 5 minutes of fame. The response of the audience was amazing. The owner of the club booked me that night as a headlining act. The next few years were also amazing. I got to work with people like Roseanne, Louis Anderson. Many of the people I worked with became famous. I opened for stars like Ray Charles and Ben Vereen. The archaeologists, by the way, when they were digging, found old tapes of some of those old shows. That's right. It's so fun to look back and see how my style has changed. I looked at some of those tapes and I realized I've slowed down my presentation. I speak more clearly, I'm more relaxed, and thank heavens I got rid of the beard. You'll see what I'm talking about. They dug up a comedy bit I only did one time about how gross people are with personal hygiene while driving their car. People, listen, when you're in your car, other people can see you. Keep your fingers on the steering wheel and away from your nose. The archaeologists also found the performance of my first 2 major routines, skiing and barf bag. And I was reminded again, as I watched all of this, how I almost lost my focus during those years. More about that later, because at 22 years of age, you can't be expected to be funny and wise at the same time.
Went into the airport. I'm getting so that I hate commercial flying. I went to the airport. Every airport in the world is the same. I had baggage hanging from every bone in my body. All I wanted to do is find out where my plane was leaving from. Every airport's the same. Boarding now.
No. We give you preference anyway.
I got a question for you. Why is it that when people get in their cars, they figure nobody can see them? You know what I'm talking about? Guy in a three-piece suit up to the third knuckle. Then he looks at it. I mean, what are you going to do? I leaned over and went, hey. See, that's gross. I figured that was really gross. So I figure I'm going to freak these people out. Only way to handle people like that is to freak them out. So I caught his eye. And I did this. Through his brain. Hey, you want to have real fun? I love freaking people out. Go into a 7-Eleven, 3 in the morning. Just walk in there and go, whoa, 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 whoa. I pick it up. This is what I hear. Come on! Oh, God! Click. You talk about reaching out and touching someone? I drove home 200 miles an hour. I figured my kids are dead. I pull in the drive. I can hear her in the house going, in here! Get in here! I picked up a piece of pipe. I'm gonna kill something. I get in the house. There's a little mouse caught in our bathtub. I'm not lying to you. My wife has freaked out. She is standing on the toilet bowl with my 12-gauge shotgun. And she's going, kill it, kill it. I said, honey, I can't kill it. You kill it. I never did kill it. I made it swim a little. Mouse doing the dog paddle. That is wrong. So moved to Colorado. Hey, go skiing. Hey, I don't know how. It's easy. I said, eat rocks. Fell on the ski line. You ever heard of the domino theory? There's 200 people laying on the ground. None of them are happy people. I don't want them to know it's me. So I'm laying in there going, who fell? Learn to ski or get off this one. was a sad day. Chairlift kept hitting me in the back. Thought you were supposed to sit on the snow and pick you off the snow, you know? It don't work that way. 3 chairs, maybe. Steepest part of the whole mountain. What's the steepest hill on the whole mountain? That's right, the little one right where you get off. It's only 10 feet long, straight down. I could not negotiate this hill. I fell. Do they care? Do they care? Other people get off. I'm laying here. They fell on me. Pretty soon there's a little pile of 80 people. I'm on the bottom going, who fell? I collect barf bags from all over the world. Don't laugh. It's hard to find people to trade with. Things are so hilarious. I mean, when you travel all the time, you gotta find something to occupy your time or you're dead. I started laughing at these things. I have over 200 of them. People send them to me from all over. None of them tell you what it is. It says, for motion discomfort. Nuh-uh. Why don't they put barf bag? Why do you paint flowers on one of those? That's supposed to make you feel better? Can you picture somebody going, oh, that's time. And they got instructions. Hey, I'm no space scientist, okay? But I know how to throw up in a bag. You don't need instructions. I don't think you're going to find a lot of people going, It becomes natural, man. Open it up, let her fly. The instructions kill me. Close by folding toward you. Clamp shut with the tabs. Call a flight attendant for disposal. Can you picture some guy? Oh, miss. Surprise. Be fun to fill it with sand. When she reaches for it, you drop it. I know. I'm really sorry about your mind. You know, I know when you see these things, you know, your tendency is to just walk by them, but you've got to let your mind go. I tease you about not having a mind. You know how mine works? I'd love to sneak on a plane early. Cut the bottoms out of all this thing. Cock and chain reaction there. Plane would never fly again. Look at this. Look at you and don't believe it. It's a multilingual bar. 4 languages. For motion discomfort, that's English. I think this is French. I don't speak French. This sounds French. Pour les Mediterraneens. It has a romantic... Pour les Mediterraneens. Means put your meal in here. Shouldn't have eaten that wiener, should you? You know, I love Spanish. I love it because this language sounds just like what you feel like. Para las náuseas. I'm going to tell you, if I'm leaning over the big white telephone, talking to the Lord there, and someone comes up behind me and says, "Para las now," I'm going to go, There's the only one I've ever found that makes sense. What a great idea. I mean, you want to keep your seat for sure? Fill her up, set her down, pal.
I hope you enjoyed that. Those are old clips. I moved from doing those comedy clubs to doing my own shows. There was a turning point. I came out of one of those shows one night, had been extremely successful, and there was one of the girls that worked there sitting on the steps going into the parking lot crying. Nobody had tipped her, and she didn't have the money to get home. And it hit me that night that I hadn't really done anything in my show that could help her. I had given people the ability to laugh for the night, but nothing that would touch their lives. And so I began concentrating on doing shows with a message. Here's the truth. I wasn't cut out to be a stand-up comedian. I was created to tell stories that change people's lives. I needed to be able to do something that would allow me to tell people about the grace and joy and mercy that Jesus could bring to their lives. I went through all of that experience. God knew what He was doing. I never would be as famous as some of the people I worked with. I couldn't have handled that kind of fame. I'm just being honest with you. And in fact, if I'm going to really be honest, I'm not sure I could handle that kind of fame now. So the assemblies, the nightclubs, the magic, all helped me develop my comedy. Some of the material that started back in that day, I still use today. I learned to use humor that would make anybody laugh. In these next clips, you're going to see my first DVD, A Twisted Mind. It was made right after George Washington threw that 50-cent piece across the Potomac River. You're going to see bits of comedy in their infant stage that I still use today. Back then, they were a couple of minutes. Today, they're 10-minute, 20-minute routines. You'll also notice that a theme was developing that would become the focus of my career. This was the theme, a reason for joy. The clip from Is It Just Me that you're going to see was filmed right after the terror attacks on 9/11. People, especially then, needed to be reminded that there was still a reason for joy. In the later stages of my dinosaur life, excuse me, in the later stages of my dinosaur life, I would create a radio show and write several books that embodied the same joyful theme. Enjoy some of the best clips from these classic comedy videos.
You know, sometimes I just want to say thank you, God, that you put us in this kind of a world. With the humor around us, the things that are around us, even in church. We go to church, and I have laughed some of the hardest I've ever laughed. No, not at my minister, you know. No. At me, at our family. You ever notice Sunday morning is the time that you get the most bent with your family? Oh, as a parent, I find myself with my hands around the throat of a child that I love, going, "You get ready, and you get ready now, because we gotta go to church where we can learn about the love of Jesus. Hurry up!" My wife has a rule about church. This is her rule. Once you sit down, you don't move. She's here tonight. If one of you stood up to leave for a moment, she'd turn to the friend sitting next to her and go, "Look at that." She doesn't like it when you move. So she gathered us all together, and she said, "New rule. We get to church, you don't move. Anything you have to do, you do before church. Because once you sit, you do not move." We all said, "Okay, good rule." It is a good rule. But there's got to be exceptions. We stood up to sing a hymn one day. I turned to her and I said, "I need to leave. I'll be right back." She turned to me and said, "You know the rule."
You will not move. I said, but I need to move. I will come right back. She said, if you move, you'll set a bad example. I said, if I stay, I'm going to set a bad example. Against her will, I left. I had to. I went to the bathroom real quick, came back. In fact, I got back before the song was done. Slid into the row, sat down, and put my arm around her. I could feel hostility just radiating from her body. And I thought, this is ridiculous. Why should she be so angry? So I put my hand on her shoulder, and I gently just hugged her. Beneath the pew, where no one could see, she took her elbow and she began to grind her elbow into my ribs. This is the woman I love, grinding her elbow into my ribs. I turned to her to tell her, this is stupid. It wasn't my wife. I'd moved into the wrong row. My wife was sitting right behind me, and the rest of the church is rolling on the floor. Now, do you suppose that God looked down on that scene and went, look, my people are having fun? No. I don't think so. I think God looked down and he went, angels, come here. Look at this idiot. In a concise form, I told them something like this. Traveling the world has not changed my life that much. Gaining weight and lifting weights has not changed my life that much. Having some of the things that I've wanted in life has not changed my life. It has not brought me the happiness and joy that I want. His love is what has changed me. The fact that he cared enough to give the very best. You see, that is the real reason for joy. When you leave here tonight, I hope that you will look around you and see the crazy things that are around you. I hope some of you will be walking down the street or in a Denny's somewhere going, "Pere Benzo." I hope so. I hope you'll see things you never saw before, because God put them here for your enjoyment. I hope that when you leave here tonight, rattling around in the back of your mind will be this thought: God didn't make any mistakes with me. I'm going to be what he created me to be. But most of all, I hope you'll remember this. I hope you will remember that the God that threw those mountains into place with exquisite care, the God that created the wonderful universe that we live in, loves you more than you will ever know. And that is the real reason for joy. Don't forget it. God bless you. And thank you very much. Thank you. This has happened to a lot of married couples. I bet you it's happened to a lot of the people who raise their hands. I'm sound asleep. It must be midnight, 1 o'clock. I am awakened out of a sound sleep to hear this sound, the sound of my dear, sweet wife's voice. Listen. That will wake you up. My eyeballs are bugging out. I'm waiting for the axe to fall. I'm waiting for the gun to go off. I turned to her and I tried to inquire. What? She went, it's in the garage. She's grabbing a hold of my arm, shutting all the blood off tomorrow. I tried to inquire. I said, what? She went, what if he's escaped from somewhere? I tried to inquire. I said, what? She went, what if he's got a chainsaw? What if he's a Democrat? You know, just... I love doing that. She never said that. But I love doing that because I can spot every Democrat in the audience. She said, what if he has a chainsaw? And then with a violent little shove, this is the truth, she went, go see.
Excuse me, love of my life. Let me see if I have this straight. I know. You think someone's in the garage? Yes, he's in the garage. Okay. You think he has escaped from somewhere? Yes, he has escaped. What if he has escaped? Okay. You are fairly certain that he has a chainsaw. Yes, he has a chainsaw. And you want me to confront him in my Fruit of the Looms. Have I got this right?
How effective can I possibly be? Hey! You with a chainsaw! Get out of here!
Snap!
I told that story in front of 11,000 people. And I came down and sat next to her, and this is why I love her. She's got a great sense of humor, too. She turned to me and she said,
You know, I was just thinking. I've seen your underwear. I think you could hold off a guy in a chainsaw.
what truth could possibly give us that kind of joy? The freedom to spread it to other people. This truth won't do it. I'm not okay. You can add this truth to it. You're not okay. And then you got two not okays. You can kid yourself. You can kid yourself into thinking it's okay. I'm not okay. You're not okay. But that's okay. Why? Why? Because he loves us anyway. You see, I really wish that I could trick you into thinking that the only indiscretion in this man's life was a bad word said in an elevator or after an airbag went off in my car. I wish I could make you think that the only thing wrong with my life that isn't okay was the fact that I do stupid little things. But that isn't the truth. I would be horribly embarrassed, probably, as most of us would, if tonight we were to just start a video and you could see all of my life. When I go to bed at night, I know I'm not okay. But what allows me to be here with you and laugh with you is I also know that you're not okay. And what allows me to throw back my head in complete peace and laugh because I know that he loved me anyway. It's not just mistakes. Plain old sin has destroyed my life. But I have a God, a creator of the universe, who knew that. And he doesn't sit up there waiting to destroy me, but he saw exactly my video, and he chose to send the best that he had, his only son. Why would you end a program with such laughter on such a note? Because I believe that joy that lasts, deep down joy, only can come when we understand the truth. I'm not okay. You're not okay. But that's okay, because he loved us anyway. When you know that, you can throw back your head and laugh. Got it? We are paralyzed. From the moment we become married, we begin to be asked questions for which there is no answer. And we begin to freeze because we want to give the right answer, but there is no right answer. Son, what was your name? Right back there. What is your name again? Aaron, I'm going to teach you some lessons here that will serve you well for the rest of your life. The first thing I want to tell you, son, is this, that I've been married for 35 years to the same woman, and I love her more than anything on the face of the earth, but she needs to be put away. Listen to me, Aaron. Listen to me, son. Don't you think for a second I'm mocking her. I am not mocking her, because the day they come in that white truck to pick her up, I'm crawling in the back with her, because I don't want to live with anybody else. I don't want to be with anybody else. I love her. But she asked me questions. I'm in this beautiful suite they have provided for us. There's a fruit bowl in there you can't get into. It's wrapped in plastic. The only way you can get through that plastic is with a blowtorch. So I called down to the front desk, and they sent up a maintenance man. And he opened the fruit basket, and it was so huge and wonderful, I thought I would show it to my wife. And I came out of the room where the fruit basket was, the little kitchenette, and I moved into that main room there. And just as I moved into that main room, I stumbled on the rug, and I fell, and the fruit went everywhere. She was standing in the doorway of the bedroom, and she said, "Why'd you do that?" I began to freeze. I've been married 35 years. I know there is no answer to that question. What am I going to say? I wanted to count them. I didn't know how many there were, and some were underneath. So. If I'd have said that, she'd have whacked me so hard with that pan. The other day she said to me, "Are you leaving the house looking like that?" There is no answer. If I say no, I don't get to go where I was going. If I say yes, I die. Why doesn't she just say to me, "Sweetheart, if you're going to leave wearing those two colors in the same general area, you need to hire a referee"? Someday, son, your wife is going to come home. She'll be shopping. She's shopping. And she'll come home and she'll walk in the front door. She'll say, "I bought this today." What do you think of it? Do not say a word. God is a wonderful God, and He created us as absolute idiots. We do not know the answer to that question. What do you think of this? "Oh, I tried, son, I tried." I said, "Oh, it's fine." "You don't like it?" "No, it's fine, it's really fine." "What's wrong with it? Why wouldn't you like it?" "Honey, it's fine." I said, "What do you want me to say?" She said, "If you thought it was fine, if you thought it was beautiful, you would say, 'That makes you look beautiful, and it makes me desire you.'" I was so happy. I had the answer. I said to her, "Sweetheart, that dress makes you look beautiful, and I desire you." She said, "You're just saying that because I told you." And son, if your wife ever comes in and says, "Does this dress make me look big?" run! People are so much more important than things. I would rather take the financial hit of moving to Tennessee so that I can be near my 2 daughters and their wonderful husbands and this little baby. It's what this program is all about. It's why I moved to Tennessee, because life is about relationships. You folks come in here, and some of you are facing unbelievable tragedy in your own home. Some of you have lost loved ones. Some of you have grandchildren and children that are going in directions that are destroying their lives. And a couple of jokes that I tell aren't going to change that one tiny bit. The stories, the funny stories that I tell, God is pleased. He loves to see your laughter. He loves to see you smile. He loves to see you spit on people around you. But He knows that nothing changes lives except relationship. Being with the people we love and taking advantage of what God has made available to us. The saving knowledge of knowing that God sees you just the way you are and knows the problems that you face and gave His Son so that you might live is the only thing that brings hope at a time like we have faced. And the only thing that brings hope in the times that you have faced and that you're facing now. The punchlines will be gone in a moment. Those of you who are my age, they're already gone. But the peace and love and forgiveness that He brings lasts forever. And that's our reason for joy. God bless you. Good night.
Classic videos like Twisted Mind and I'm Not Okay and Under the Influence were designed to make people laugh until they need medical attention, and then present truth that could heal hearts and change lives. I had one man in one of our concerts, comedy concerts, who literally had a heart attack, fell out on the floor, and I thought he was just laughing so hard that he fell out of his seat. But he actually had a heart attack. We had to bring in medical people and had to refund all the tickets. And I wrote him a letter and apologized. I said, I'm so sorry, because I felt I'd caused his heart attack. And he wrote back and said, don't apologize for the heart attack. He said, I've had 4 heart attacks. I want to thank you, he said, for the best heart attack I've ever had. I studied to be a minister. I'm actually an ordained minister. I've never had a church, and churches all over the world have been thanking God for that every day. But because I still have a heart for ministry, I began to do message videos. If my comedy videos were comedy with a message woven into them, then the message videos could be described as a message with comedy woven through them. Some of them became bestsellers. My DVD, Super Sheep, was one of those. I read in the Bible how God compared us to sheep. I grew up on a farm. Excuse me. I was not impressed. This is one of the stories from the message DVD, Super Sheep. I hope you enjoy it.
Here, I killed a sheep once. I see some of you are just shocked by that. I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't sit in my room and go, oh, kill me a sheep. It was an accident. The story I'm about to tell you is true. After this meeting is over, I don't want anyone coming to me and asking me, is that really true? It's true. I was going underneath a fence delivering 2 buckets of water to the watering area. We had a sheep named Herman. I stepped between 2 strands of barbed wire, electrified fence, weed burner fence, designed to burn weeds off so they couldn't short it out. And as I stretched between those 2 strands of barbed wire, Herman came running and butted me into that fence. I spilled the water, got tangled in the fence, electricity coursing through my body. I invented slam dancing on the spot. When I got untangled from the fence, I looked up and I could see Herman standing about 50 feet away. And I swear to you, he was smiling. And so I determined that this sheep needed to learn a lesson.
The next day I was walking in the barnyard and I saw him walking by the edge of the barn. His little geeky feet going in the same way. He was an old sheep, and so he was breathing, his little tongue hanging out. I looked for something to hit him with. I was just gonna, I wasn't gonna hurt him real bad. I just wanted to say, don't ever do that again. I couldn't find anything. I couldn't lift the barn. He was closer now. I'd have dropped that barn right on him. I went up to the edge of the barn and hid by the corner. I could hear his little breath coming. He stuck his head out, didn't see me, and then evidently he must have caught me out of the corner of his eye because he froze, and I went, boo! And he died. I don't care if you believe it or not. My father didn't believe it. My father said, what happened to Herman? I said, Dad, I went boo, and he died. My dad said, you hit him with something. I said, no, Dad, it was a really big boo. It was a big boo. My dad's 70 years old. The other day we visited him for Christmas a couple of years ago. God has healed our family in marvelous ways. How I love my father. And after Christmas, my father said, come out to the kitchen. We went out to the kitchen. He's about 70. I'm 45 at the time. He said, thank you for coming for Christmas. I love you. I said, I love you too, Dad. And then that man grabbed me by the shoulders and held me at arm's length and said, now what happened to Herman? I'm 40 years old going, I went boo, and he died.
When I get to heaven, I have a feeling my dad is going to come running, hold me in his arms, and say, Herman is here. You lied about Herman. This next clip is from a DVD entitled A Wimpy Prophet, a Butane Bush, and No Excuses. Some people thought it was disrespectful of Moses to name it that. Not so. It's disrespectful to assume that Moses was any different than you and me. The point of this video is that Moses was a terrified, flawed individual, and God chose to use him in spite of his faults. People tend to drain the blood from Bible heroes. All I did was give him a transfusion. No matter who you are, when God calls, there are no excuses. You don't need extraterrestrial power. Phone home.
Moses, what's that in your hand?
Yes?
What is that?
It's my sheep stick. When I'm out here watching the sheep, sometimes they go where they're not supposed to go. And then I go, bad sheep. My sheep stick.
Moses, throw it down.
Why? Isn't that what you do? Why? It's a good sheep stick.
Moses, throw the stick down.
Okay, no need to get testy here. Do you know the story? When he threw it down, what happened? It turned into a snake. And of course, being a Bible person, he went,
behold. What was straight is now crooked.
I love the way the Bible talks about this. You know what the Bible says? The Bible says that he threw that thing down and it turned into a snake, and he did the same thing we did.
The Bible says he put his knees to the breeze and he buggeth out of there. Now, see, the scholars are going, buggeth is not here. What it means is he ran from the snake. He threw that thing down. He had no idea what was going to happen. He just threw it on the ground and went, yeah, wah! And he was gone. You can't tell me God doesn't have a sense of humor. The Bible says that God said, come on back here. Moses come back, he's looking at that thing, and then God said, pick up the snake. No! You pick up the snake! Am I right or not? Isn't this the way we go with God? You made the snake, you pick up the snake. Turn it back into a stick, then I'll pick it up. Moses, okay. He tried to distract the snake with his microphone. What happened when he picked up the snake? It was a stick again. Tell me his blood pressure didn't go up. Tell me his eyes didn't just get huge. I threw it down. Oh, I wish there was somebody here. Sheep! Come here! I threw it down and it turned into a stick. Look at it go. I stick! Look at that! Stick! Snake stick.
Another favorite message video of mine identified love at... love as the only thing that can heal the wounded heart. This was filmed at Bill Gaither's praise gathering with 9,000 people in the stadium and a stage filled with teenagers. I told them the story of how my daughter stopped saying I love you and what that felt like to me. I challenged those young people to say those words to their parents, the words that heal a wounded heart.
A couple of months later, they asked me to come and speak at my daughter's school. I love being up here. I love every moment of it. God has created me with this strange mind. I'm not afraid. People say you're a liar. I'm not a liar. I'm not afraid. I want to be here. I want to be here now. I want to be here all the time. I don't want anybody else to be up here. I want to be here. But I was petrified when I went to her school. Absolutely petrified. I stood in front of that audience and delivered my message. The chaplain asked me to go out for lunch. My daughter had to go to a class. He brought me to an Italian restaurant. He reached into his briefcase and he pulled out a stack of cards about that high. He said, in all of my tenure at this school, I have never seen such a positive response from our students. And he read several of those cards to me, and I was so gratified. They liked me. Then he pulled one out of his pocket, and he said, here's one I think that will interest you. I was eating spaghetti. I looked on the front, and on the front of the card was my daughter's name, Tracy Lynn Davis. Do you know I've jumped out of an airplane at 8,000 feet? I flew to Alaska and crashed twice. I love stuff like that. But I didn't have the courage to turn that card over. There's only one thing worse than knowing that that wound isn't healed, and that's to think that it might be torn a little wider. Finally, I turned it over, and written on the other side in big round letters, the eyes dotted with hearts, were these words: I love my daddy. I spit spaghetti all over the table. I ran for a little bathroom that they had there. I closed the door and locked the door. And I was like a child. I said, oh, God, she loves me. Thank you, Jesus. I didn't know there was a guy in there. Now, I'm a comedian, but I didn't say that to be funny. There was a guy in there, and he scared me to death. I'm going, oh, she loves me, thank you, Jesus. And this voice goes, get a life, man.
While those archaeologists were digging around my house, they also dug up some old friends. I made several DVDs with my comedian friends over the years. What a blast. This one with Bob Stromberg is my favorite. I don't know that I have ever laughed so hard in my life.
And ladies and gentlemen, would you welcome Mr. Ken Davis and the Amazing Comedy Co.
No. You know, my shirt's about as tucked in as that's good on the tucking. Yeah. Actually.
I think I'll take my glasses.
Oh, that's good, yeah.
You got it in my eye.
Read the card, Ken. Read the card.
Read the card. I can't even open my sword up. So bad. I've been so excited.
No. Hello, Ken.
Hello, ugly thing.
You are doing a wonderful job here tonight.
Thank you.
Ken, you know this fellow Bob Stromberg you are working with.
Yes. I'm so sad I do.
He is a very funny man, don't you think?
Oh, yes. Yeah, he's hilarious.
Ken, I have a question for you then.
Yes.
Why do you not pay him more?
Now, this clip from our DVD, Under the Influence, contains some of the most requested comedy bits I've ever done. Even when people have heard it, they ask me if I'll do it again. This is one of my all-time favorite DVDs and one of my favorite stories. Hey, look. Get it. Go ahead and watch the DVD.
I was in Portland, Oregon, headed for Orlando, Florida. Had to get up at 4 o'clock to catch a 5 o'clock flight. That was before September 11. Now, if you got a 5 o'clock flight, you got to get up on Tuesday. So I got up, so tired I could hardly move.
I start to the airport. On the way to the airport, I pick up a copy of USA Today. I was going to read it when I got on the plane. What was that? 500 men going, USA, what's USA? Gee. 500 women going, USA Today, stupid. Listen to the man. He's trying to tell us a story. Have you ever been so tired you can't read? Couldn't read. Could not read. So I thought, what am I going to do? If I drop this, they'll run over it with the cart, then they ruin it. I thought, I know, I will sit on it. I was sitting in the airplane seat. I got up, I folded the paper over, I put it on the airplane seat, and then I sat down and I buckled my seatbelt. Sitting next to me was a guy, I don't know what influence he had, but he was nasty. He watched me do that whole thing, turned to me and said, excuse me, are you reading that? That ain't right. Now, I grew up believing you gotta give people a chance. You cannot let them fall into stupid pit all by themselves. So I turned to the man and I said, I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understood what you just said. Could you repeat it for me just one time so that I can get it right? I mean, this guy is just like nasty. He said, I said, are you reading that newspaper? And he pointed to it. I figure I gave him his chance. I unbuckled my seatbelt, I stood up and turned around. I turned one page on the newspaper and then I sat back down again. And I buckled my seatbelt. I said, yep, I'm reading it. I'm doing the crossword puzzle. Leave me alone.
Hey friends, everything you've seen so far documents a career that spans almost 50 years. Over those years, I've stood on mountaintops and walked through valleys with long shadows of death. Through it all, God has been faithful. Even in my darkest hours and through the times of failure, He never left my side. He chose to heal me. This final series of clips is from a motion picture that was inspired by my book, Fully Alive. Fully Alive is the record of the journey you've seen in these clips and what I've recorded in books I've written over the years. A record of an emotional, physical, and spiritual renewal that changed my life forever. When we filmed this movie, I told a story about my stolen car that went viral on the internet. Of course, I expanded and exaggerated that story, but it's my story. The stories of my failures and struggles and of God restoring joy, health, and vitality to my life are also mine. The thrill of telling them over the years is knowing that the same grace of God that He extended to me can be yours as well. It's also extended to the toad. The trainer caught the toad. No animals were hurt in the filming of this video. Enjoy this clip from Fully Alive.
As I grow older, I seem to get weirder. I'm going to tell you a true story. I was at a meeting the other day. I had a meeting, about an hour-and-a-half meeting. And at the end of that meeting, as I headed out the door, I did what I now do almost every day of my life when I'm headed anywhere. I do the Macarena. On the way to the airport, I call it the airport Macarena. You remember that Macarena dance? Yeah, it's that, except I do it to check to make sure I have everything that I'm supposed to have. How many do the Macarena? You're just checking. I got my passport, got my keys. Oh, yeah. And I froze. No keys. No keys. My wife is on me all the time because I grew up in the country in northern Minnesota, and we did not lock doors and we did not take keys out of the car. Why would you take keys out of the ignition? You will lose them if you take them out of the ignition. You don't have to look for keys if they're in the ignition. No one ever stole anything. No one ever broke into our house, and so you just kept them in the ignition. And my wife would say to me, do not do that. Now I have left the keys in the ignition, and I am afraid that she might find out. And so I make my way out of this building, and I know exactly where we came in. I know exactly where the car is supposed to be. I walked out, and it was gone. My car had been stolen. Now I was in big trouble. So I picked up the phone. My first call was to the police. I said, I was in a meeting, and I am afraid I left my keys in the car, but you need to come. My car has been stolen. I want my car back. Would you please come? And I gave them the address and said, will you come here? And then I hung up the phone, and I called my wife. And I didn't hang it up like that because it was a cell phone. That tells you how old I am. I hung up the phone and I called my wife. This was the most troubling call of all. And I said, sweetheart, I know you have told me that I should never leave my keys in the car, but I left my keys in the car, and I came out, and baby, the car is gone. The car had been stolen. You women have no mercy. There was a long pause. I said, are you there? She said, Ken, I dropped you off. That's a true story. I said, can you come and get me? She said, yes, I will be there in about 15 or 20 minutes. I said, no, why 15 or 20 minutes? Can you come and get me now? She said, I will be there in just a little while. I said, why just a little while? She said, I have to convince this policeman that I have not stolen your car. What is your name? Josh. How old are you, Josh? 17. 17 years old. Stand up, Josh. Folks, look at Josh. Turn around, Josh. Are you married? Josh, you ever wonder what it's like to be married? Yeah, thank you. Honest. I love honest. You see, I get guys that lie to me. No. I've never thought of it. Never thought of it. It really doesn't matter either way, because every thought you've had is wrong. Stay there. Did I tell you you could sit down, John? Do you like to sleep, Josh? Forget that. You see, Josh, the Bible says that God made the sun to rule over the day. I'm here to tell you that God made woman to tell you what went wrong while the sun was supposed to be doing its job. She does it at night. You can sit down, son. Someday you will be married. You're a handsome young man. You will be married. Remember this. Remember this. I may be gone.
I may be gone already, but maybe not. If I'm not, email me and tell me, because I'm telling you now it's going to happen. You will be lying in bed. You will be almost asleep, and you will hear this. Look at me, Josh. That night is over, Josh. Every man in here will tell you that that night is over. There is nothing you can do. What's wrong? Nothing! $17. Wow. When I look down and see how young you are and the fact that you have hair, you have your whole life in front of you, I just want to slap you. Josh, my only revenge is that someday you will wake up and be 55. And you will walk into a room and make a little circle like a dog looking for a place to lay down. Because you're trying to remember why you came into the room. You hear that laughter? Old people. Am I wrong? Am I alone here? Do any of you ever leave and come back hoping that will trigger something? Let me see your hands. If I didn't have a wife, I wouldn't know where I am ever. I wouldn't have a clue. Just the other day, I called to her. Diane, honey, help me. I've been in this room for 15 minutes. I have left twice. I still do not know why I am here. They are without mercy. You're in the bathroom, idiot. Figure it out. Look at Josh going, didn't you have to go? I tell you something, son. You get my age, you don't go when you have to go. You go when you're supposed to go. When's that? Depends, son. Depends. When I was training for the triathlon. By the way, did I tell you? I took second. In my age group? There were 2 guys in my age group. I will tell you the truth. I will tell you the truth. I beat over half of all the people of all ages who ran in that triathlon. But that isn't the important thing. This race doesn't have a winner's circle. It only has a finish line. And it isn't about how you look. It's about being everything you can possibly be. And so I'm training, and remember, I couldn't ride a bike at first, and there was this one hill, 2.5 miles long, just before I get to my house. And for the longest time, I couldn't make it up it. I had to walk, and then I could ride it. And then I started riding it pretty fast, but it was still a tough hill. And just before the triathlon was supposed to happen, I'm riding up that hill, and I have timed myself, and I am doing fine. I'm almost exhausted, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to make it to the top of the hill. And from behind me, I hear this sound. Sounds like one of those life support machines. Scared me to death. I looked behind me. There was a fossil of a man. This old dude. And he was gaining on me. I cannot let this happen. I am so competitive. This is what I love about God. He gave me a competitive spirit, fiercely competitive spirit, and nothing to back it up. Is that hilarious? So this guy's gaining on me, and I stand up in the pedals, and I start pumping on my bike as fast as I can possibly ride. And he comes up beside me, and he smiles. And it is all that I can do to keep from punching him out. And then he goes past me. And I am so tired, I think I'm going to throw up. I think I will throw up. And he disappears over the hill. And then I see him again, and I thought, well, maybe I'm gaining on him. But then I see he is slowing down. And he slows down until he is right beside me. And he's pumping beside me, and he is smiling. And he looks at me, and he says, "Don't stop doing this." He said, "I do this to live." And all I can think is, the dude is carrying on a conversation. I'm throwing up. He's smiling. He said, "I don't do this to stay alive. I do this to live." He's got this huge smile. He says, "Today is the anniversary of my stroke." He said, "I have all my speech back. I lost all my speech." He said, "I don't have full use of my left arm or left leg yet, but I'm alive." And then he took off. I am being defeated by a disabled dinosaur. I stood up again to try and catch him. And as I stood up to try and catch him, he was at the top of the hill, and he looked over his shoulder, and he said to me, "Live!" He disappeared over the hill. I will never forget this man. I sometimes wonder if maybe he wasn't an angel. But then I remember how he was slobbering. Couldn't be. I want to tell you something. I cannot tell you what a pleasure and privilege it is to come here and watch you laugh. To have a great time with you, Josh. There's some stuff at the back. It's all free for you, okay? You take whatever you want. I love your laughter. Is your mom and dad here? Oh, that's great. You guys stop back there and pay for it. I'm serious, man. You stop back there. I am grateful that I get a chance to share the little signs of life that I have found in my story since the time I was just innocent to the time I became confused. But I am most grateful that you allowed me to share with you how I have learned to live fully alive. I want that for you. I want it for you. Before you leave, or maybe right after you leave, or maybe a week from now, or maybe a month from now, or maybe a couple years from now, when you're facing some difficult times and you wonder if life is really worth living, you're going to hear this. Look behind you. It will be me. And I will be saying to you what I am saying now. Live! For God's sake, live. God bless you. Good night.
In doing the research for the book and the movie Fully Alive, I suddenly realized that this whole message of God is the author of joy, the whole message of living life to the fullest, has threaded its way through almost everything in my life, right from the day that the doctor slapped me on the behind and said, it's a boy. And people ask me now, what are you going to do now? Is this your last DVD? I don't know. All I know is I'm not going to stop spreading the good news. And the reason I'm going to keep doing it is because of the emails and the messages and the phone calls and the letters that we get from people whose lives have been changed by the simple truth. The elderly lady that lost her husband and thanked me for helping me realize that night that life was still worth living, that God was still in control and wasn't done with her yet. The teenage girl who was cutting herself and thinking about taking her own life, who after leaving one of our programs grabbed her mom's arm and said, I want to live, Mom. I want to live. Those are the kinds of things that keep me going. The woman who wrote and told me that her husband, who had his fist clenched all of his life in the face of God, laughed that night so hard that he could hardly breathe, and then a couple of weeks later took her out to dinner to tell her that he had decided to follow the God that he'd been so angry at for most of his life. That's what keeps me going. And when those archaeologists start digging around our house again, I don't think they'll find anything else. In fact, when they find that stone with my name on it and 2 dates on it, don't dig there either. I'm not there. I'm going to be with my dad in heaven with my dad, trying to convince him that all I did was go boo, and Herman died. Boo. It was a big boo. That's where I'll be.
Oh, Ken, from where I was seated, that was so moving. Mission accomplished, good friend.
Thank you.
I mean it. Great job. Great job.
I am so honored that you came. Wow. And went. When God calls, there's no excuses. Why can't I say excuses? I did. I did receive a transfusion. Moses didn't have any extraterrestrial. Can I just change that one? Moses did not. Okay, I'm sorry. Moses did not have any Moses did not have any powers outside of this world. Phone home. Oh my goodness. I'm not going to do anything.
Is that good?
That's fine. Yeah. Okay, let's go. Go. Okay.
All right, here we go. And
I don't want to hold on many more seconds.
all right, and action.
Come on, keep going. Get down there. Classic videos like Twisted Mind, I'm Not Okay, and Under the Influence were designed to make people laugh until they need medical attention. And spiritual renewal that changed my life forever. The toad is gone. The next several weeks, sorry, I'm just so nervous from this. All right. Whose lives are being impacted by the simple message that God is the author of joy. I just saw the turtle and I lost it. I lost it. The turtle came. I can't remember where we're supposed to be. I'm sorry.
So moving.
Thank you.
Mission accomplished. Good job.
Thank you, man.
Oh, I meant to say mission accomplished. Good friend.
I'm done.